Thank you very much. Make sure it's working. Hello, everyone. My name's Segun. I'm a registrar in intensive care. I like social media and I like ultrasound, and I'm here to talk to you about social media. Can everybody hear me now? Oh, that's better. Okay. First thing to say, just I have a few declarations of interest. Lots of these are social media involved websites, and I think I finally have a financial conflict of interest after many years of trying. So I'm here to talk to you very briefly just about social media. And when we think about that, you probably think about these things. So these are all very famous logos of various companies. And sadly, most of our associations with social media are quite negative. We think about people like this, which if some of this will make you very happy. If it does, I'm a bit worried about you. But most of us it'll fill us with dread. However, what if I told you that there is actually a red pill to this blue pill of badness, that there is actually a positive side to social media, especially if you're interested in using it in furthering your career for medical education and for learning? Well, so the story of social media medical education really kind of took a turn in 2012. So some of you might recognize this guy on the left. He's a guy called Mike Cadogan, and he's Australian. He originally trained in Oxford, and he's an emergency physician. And he has been very interested in the use of this new growth of media for medical education for quite some time. And while at an emergency medicine conference in Ireland in 2012, he was drinking a pint of Guinness, and naturally the solution came to him at the bottom of the pint of Guinness. He came up with this concept of FOAM, free open access medical education. Unfortunately, if you search on Twitter for FOAM, you end up with lots of images that are unsavory, so he came up with a slightly different term called FOAMed, where he just expanded the term to medical education. And what he did by doing so was he created a single catch-all term that anybody anywhere could search for using search engine of your choice, and would bring up lots of medically related and educationally relevant articles. There have been lots of spin-offs of the hashtag since then. So critical care has its own version of the FOAM hashtag called FOAMCC. Anesthetists have their version called FOAM gas, and so on and so forth. But it's expanded quite significantly. It's not really new stuff, really. The doctors embracing the pervasive media of their time. So, on the left is a papyrus from ancient Egypt. This is the first ever known medical textbook. And on the right is cardiac arrest from the 1970s. And does anybody remember watching that? Some people do. Some people do. So doctors actually embracing the pervasive media of the time is not a new thing, and social media, FOAMed just follows that, really. This is Kevin MD. So interestingly enough, doctors have been blogging and doing Web 2.0, which is the word for user-generated web content, for quite some time. So Kevin MD is the first big medical blog, and was actually around in sort of 1999, early 2000s. So this has really been going on for a long time. So all Mike did, and the FOAMed movement did, was just kind of popularize it and make it bigger. And currently, at last count, Mike has a famous website called Life in the Fast Lane. He collects a lot of this information, and at his last count last year, there are 179 blogs from 21 countries and 330 people on social media who identify themselves as active users or producers of FOAMed. So in terms of actually using this stuff, the two main areas where people exercise their usage of FOAMed is on Twitter and on blogs. Twitter is kind of used as the initial place to start the conversation. Works quite well. The messages are short and punchy, and you can link articles, you can stick videos in. And if you're going to have a more extended discussion, you tend to go on a blog. So on the left, you've got Life in the Fast Lane, which is Mike's blog, probably the biggest one. He collects all the FOAMed resources every week. He releases a big newsletter where he collates as much foam as he can. So I would highly recommend that you check that out if you're looking for a starting point in foam. A lot of the foam stuff came to a head in 2013 with a conference called SMAC. Have any of you guys heard of this? There's lots of anesthetists here. Lots of people here have probably been to SMAC. SMAC stands for Social Media and Critical Care. Originally held in Australia. It's had 5 successful iterations since then. Each one has gone on to be bigger and better than the last. And this happens to be a medical conference that sells out in 2 weeks when the tickets are announced, which was previously unheard of. SMAC has had massive influences on medical conferences in terms of the way we advertise, the way we conduct ourselves at conferences, and the inclusive use of social media now at conferences, to the point where this is a conference I was at actually over the weekend in Amsterdam, and they had their own social media team. So doctors who were there purely to engage with the wider community who weren't at the conference via social media. So I was fortunate enough to be one of them. So was Jonathan here, who's live streaming this as we speak. And we provided blogs, podcasts. We live streamed aspects of the conference, and we basically generated a whole set of extra content outside the conference. That's how big it's gone. So what does this mean to you? You might be wondering. Well, so interestingly enough, I am actually here at this conference entirely through social media. That's how I met Sophie. Sophie entered into the world of Twitter, gradually found her way into the world of FOMED, when I would actually ask questions like this and address them to people like me who were just innocent Twitter users. And so she would say something like this, just a simple question about morphine, and she would end up with a whole bunch of replies like this. From there's me up there, giving me a reply. There's Henry Hammerbeck, who's another anesthetic trainee, giving me a reply. Another example of an interaction asking about the use of how we choose fluids to administer in the case of an acute anaphylaxis. And again, another few responses, responding with an article. So that's how powerful Twitter can be. These are the problems. The main problems with social media is that social media is unfortunately full of people. People's intelligence, yes, exactly. And people's intentions are not always honorable. So there will always be somebody out there who is not polite, whose intentions are not pure, and who was just there just to rile you up and just upset you. How you handle them is entirely up to you, but make sure that you do it in a way that keeps you safe and allows you to function as an effective human being. And that's it, really. I think social media is a really powerful tool for medical education. Please give it a go if you want to get on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter already and you want to get on Twitter and try this stuff, come talk to me and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Any questions for the Iceman?